I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts, Spider-Man's control, and Batman with his fists. And clearly I don't see myself upon that list. She said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. Do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. I want something just like this. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, the testaments they told, the moon and its eclipse, and Superman unrolls a suit before he lifts. But I'm not the kind of person that it fits. She said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can miss. I want something just like this. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. I want something just like this. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. I want something just like this. Where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this.
Good morning. My name is Linda Leibel, and I serve as President-elect of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg this year. Thanks for joining us via live stream this morning. In cooperation with the global and national health authorities, we've suspended all in-person church activities for the time being. Our care for one another and for our community only becomes more important in times like these. I encourage you to visit our website, uucs.org, for ways that you can join in our work. If you have questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, any of our board members, or any member of our staff. Our job is to serve you. A few announcements this morning. The South Converse neighborhood trash pickup is resuming Saturday, June 27th at 8 a.m. Anyone who cares to come should meet at 8 a.m. at the small park at the bottom of South Converse Street. Wear a mask, bring gloves, and trash grabbers. Trash bags are supplied, and social distancing will be maintained. A big thank you to all of those who made our annual meeting, our social justice discernment process, and our summer solstice celebration, and everything else, all of it, such a success. This is an incredible church. Thank you. Thank you all. We're glad that you've taken time to connect with us this morning, especially in times like these. We need each other. Thank you for being part of the congregation today. We are a people of faith and hope. Welcome.
Good morning. I want to echo Linda's word of thanks with my own. Thank you for all that you have done, all that you have created, all that you are still making happen. It is good news to hear a president-elect on the precipice or on the verge or on the launch pad of her presidency speak a word of thanks with that emotion in your voice. I hope you heard it as I did. This is a place where we care for each other and where we want to help one another succeed. From every level of leadership from the grassroots up and from the structures of organization throughout. Thank you for all that you are doing and have done. We are into our summer, and it is traditional to think of summer as a downtime. We certainly all need to take a rest when we are able. But we are falling out of the habit of slowing down in the summer in this congregation. And I want to just alert you to what is coming in the months of July and August. This summer, we have a remarkable lineup of music and speakers planned for this service. In July, we will enter into a series on UU Women Heroes, heroes who are women from the Unitarian and Universalist and Unitarian Universalist traditions. Women from this congregation are going to speak on UU Women Heroes that they have selected out of their professional fields, speaking about leaders in nursing, in education, in social justice, in theology, in mental health, people who were pioneers and groundbreakers in their fields and who opened new ways of understanding, opened new worlds to us all. Women from this congregation will speak about these women who have gone before us and who have opened a new way. And that remarkable series will lead us to yet another in August, where we will engage in a month-long celebration of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, of women's suffrage and the right to vote. Historians, members of this congregation, and I will speak about what happened 100 years ago and what has happened since and what we can all learn going forward today. If thoughts about suffrage and franchise were not important enough because of the historical moment, we know what is at stake this year in our elections. And we are going to think about all of that this August. This will be a summer of intersectional justice, of gender, of race, of class, all of it, and how we can all work together from our many different places, our different backgrounds and commitments, in order to make this a world that is fair, a world of mercy, a world where we can all live. Our services are meant to help us cast a vision, to see that to which we aspire. And that to which we aspire is that by which we strive to live. This congregation has now created more than 1,500 masks and distributed them across this community and communities around this country, all the way to the West Coast. You know that over the last 2 months, in April and May, we created a fund in collaboration with partners in this community to support Latinx immigrants in Spartanburg County, on whom our economy depends, who are deemed essential workers, but who are underpaid and scapegoated, and who will receive no support from the federal government during this pandemic. Our congregation has raised, with community partners, more than $21,000 to support the Latinx immigrant community in Spartanburg. And other partners, United Ways in Spartanburg and Greenville, have created even larger funds to join in the work so that there has been a sizable multiplication of gifts. I want to share with you today news that we have received. A few weeks ago, we were approached by statewide funders asking if there might be a way to scale up what we were doing in Spartanburg County and to create a coalition that would try to provide direct support for Latinx immigrants around South Carolina. We have been working very hard with our board, with partners in Spartanburg County and around the state, with nonprofit lawyers and CPAs to figure out if and how we could do this. And more than one philanthropy, in the meantime, has approached us asking us to apply for funding. Foundations asking us to apply for funding. This week we received our first grant. And so we are forming not only a coalition to serve our siblings in Spartanburg County, but a coalition of nonprofits, of advocates, and of this congregation to serve the Latinx immigrant community statewide. That to which we aspire is that which we strive to live. Last week at our annual meeting, our congregation voted in overwhelming numbers to choose in our social justice discernment process an entirely new approach to social justice, one that centers the work of consciousness as an endeavor in which we will engage as an entire congregation, a sustained work of examining ourselves and our privilege and our place in the history of this nation and the world, so that we are more self-aware and more committed, willing to be self-critical and empowering to one another, so that we can then go out and do effective work advocating for immigrants, working for voting justice, engaging in ecological action, and being a neighbor in the South Converse neighborhood. This is by far the hardest and most ambitious option that we could choose. We have chosen the most difficult path. With the work of consciousness, the hardest work that we can do, at the heart. That to which we aspire is that which we strive to live. It is the summer, and we are not slowing down. These are my words to you as we enter into the deep months of heat and energy and power. Wow. 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 Let's go.
We all wish we had superpowers. We all wish we could do more than we can do. Just because we have superpowers, that doesn't mean your love life would be perfect. I don't think superpowers automatically mean there won't be any personality problems or even money problems. I just tried to write characters who are human beings, who also have superpowers. I thought it would be great to do superheroes that have the same kind of life problems that any reader, that anybody could have. I see myself in everything I write. All the good guys are me, says Marvel Comics creator Stan Lee.
I am that great and fiery force, sparkling in everything that lives, in shining of the river's course, in greening grass that glory gives. I shine in glitter on the seas, in burning sun, in moon and stars, in unseen wind, in bird and trees. I breathe within both near and far. And where I breathe there is no death, and meadows glow with beauty's rife. I am in all the Spirit's breath, the thundered word, for I am life.
We don't have a creed, but we do have a covenant, a promise we make to each other. It informs how we connect with one another to be of service to our members and to the greater community of all sentient beings. Say these words mindfully together, or quietly think about how you can put these words in practice in your daily life. We are a people of faith and hope. Together, we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. Normally, at this time in our service, we all would be mindfully placing stones and shells in our rippling water bowl to represent our joys and sorrows. Instead, let us take this time to use our inherent and technological superpowers to reach out and greet those close by and those further afield. Superpowers aren't only fantastic movie quality feats, but can be warm and personal, everyday actions that just might save a life or at least make someone's day. A hug, a smile, a deep listening ear, a note, a call, a text, an email, etc., just might make you a superhero in someone's eyes. During this quiet time, reach out in person or use your high-tech devices to connect with others at home, in our congregation, or in the larger community.
we bring our gifts. Gifts of many kinds. If you go to our website, www.uucs.org, and scroll just below this live stream, you will see a button that says Help. And if you click on that button, you will see a page full of ways that you can serve, ways that you can help directly during the pandemic, a page that is updated and that evolves week after week so that we can stay current with ways to share our gifts in support of one another, gifts of all kinds, gifts of talent and energy and time and focus and reflection and finances. If you scroll to the bottom of that page, you will find ways that you can give financially to support the work of this church, to our congregation itself, and our overall ministry, which is only expanding during the pandemic, to our Share the Plate this month on behalf of the Navajo Nation, a place that has been enormously affected by the pandemic, to the fund to support Latinx immigrants in Spartanburg County, a fund that we established more than 2 months ago, and which has had such effect, we will keep it going and keep working through it for as long as we are able to sustain it. All of these are ways that you can give. And you know what your gifts are. You know your capacity. You know your choices. And you know what in your life summons you. Whatever your gift, join it with all of these others. Let us give. We are changing things. Serious fun. Happy solstice, everyone. Yesterday, this church celebrated the summer solstice with a live-streamed service outside, those who were participants assembling around a labyrinth, led by drummers who drummed us into the evening to celebrate the sun at its zenith. And even after the service was over, our technical crew wrestled with video issues and music issues to keep the service available and accessible to all of us in this strange time of virtual connection, a time where we're separated and yet together, a time on which we depend on those with the skill and ability and the resources, the technology to make that connection, and depend on each other to show up and do it. A time when we are here and not here with each other at the same time. A strange way of living in different worlds at once. Fascinatingly, this solstice in the northern hemisphere had, of course, its parallel in the southern hemisphere, the winter solstice. And this year, on parts of the continents of Asia and Africa, not only was it the winter solstice in parallel to our own summer solstice celebration, but there was a full solar eclipse, a ring of fire solar eclipse on the winter solstice in parts of Asia and Africa. Can you imagine that experience? Do you recall the eclipse only a few years ago and how powerful that moment was? Imagine all of that happening, but on the solstice itself. What a remarkable alignment of lives in space and time. And how different our own experience here on the same globe, but miles and continents away, sharing a world as if made up of many different worlds, a world that is one and many at the same time. And surely that is one way for us to interpret the social moment that we are in our region, in our state, in our nation, and around the world. A time of protest, a time of obtuse governance, a time of explicit provocation, a time of ego and narcissism, and also of courage and service and solidarity. Many worlds, many experiences, so unlike one another that people speak the same language and don't even know what they're talking about, one to the other. Worlds colliding and trying to find one another, as if we were from different places altogether, but trying to find a life together. We are living in strange, multiple times, trying to make sense of this life and of how to do it better. And so I want to ask you to breathe, to ground yourself where you are, to center through this virtual space, from this sanctuary to the sanctuary where you find yourself in this moment, within yourself. And I want to ask you to ask yourself this question. How did you get here? How did you get here? Not just in the world or in your body, but how did you wind up sitting in front of this live stream at this moment? If you're a member of this congregation, how did you come through these doors, physically or virtually? If you're a friend of this congregation, or a person who's been watching this service and joining in our work, even though you have no formal affiliation with the congregation, and that matters not a little to us. It's not a factor for us. We're interested in joining gifts and working together. That's what matters to us. Whatever your formal connection with this congregation is, if you are a part of this service today, I want you to ask yourself, how did you get here? And don't dismiss the question. Don't pass over it quickly. Don't say out of hand, well, I was born into this congregation, and that's that. Or I've always been a UU, and that's that. Or this was the only place, and that's that. No, in this strange moment in which we find ourselves, of worlds and backgrounds and perspectives colliding, breathe. Ground yourself in your being. Center down. And reckon with who you are and how it is that you have come to be with us all together in this strange time and place. No circumstance less than any other. None normal. None to be discarded out of hand. All choice. All mystery. All lives drawing together. How did you get here? This month, we have been working with the theme of superheroes. Last November, during our annual auction, an anonymous benefactor purchased a sermon. And the instructions that they gave were that the sermon would be about superheroes, and the only stipulation was that we have fun. And so today we are talking about fun. We have devoted the entire month to the theme because there's so much to work with here. We've thought about power and how to identify our power, how to find it, the different places from which it comes innate in us and developed through learning and skill, and maybe especially and certainly from the wounds that we all have borne in our lives. All of these sources of power and all of us wielding power. So the question is not, do we have it, but what will we choose to do with it? How will we use it? And then teamwork, how our individual power joins with the power of others, and we create things beyond what any one of us can do alone. The remarkable teams that we see around us in healthcare and in the public sector, teachers, nurses, doctors, social workers, and teams within this congregation, all the ways that people are working together in the pandemic and far beyond the pandemic to serve us and to make this world more livable for us all. And today, fun. Because the stories of superheroes are not only about our power, about who we are and how we need each other and can join together to do even more when we work together, but they are meant to be fun, joyful, an exuberant defiance of all the ills in the world, a way in which the work for justice is full of energy and impossibility and discovery and flight. So in this last of the meditations that I will offer, I want to recommend one more story to you. In my estimation, this is the very best superhero story that we have right now. It is so smart. It is so on point. It fulfills all that one needs in a superhero story and more. It goes beyond. And it has a clumsy name. It's a movie. The title is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It is a remarkable film with a clumsy title. And so I want you to plug the title into your device and find it and move into the content. This film is so smart. It's the story of a young man, barely a teenager, named Miles Morales. He's a black kid from New York City, from Brooklyn, and his family is mixed. His mother is a Spanish-speaking black woman, and his father is a black man and a cop. It's about him becoming Spider-Man, about his discovery of gifts, and about his need for teamwork, and about the joy of the work, of what he discovers. Now, in every Spider-Man movie ever, there are two lines that are always delivered. One is a line about responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. It's about accessing our gifts for the sake of others. But there is another line that is always delivered in every Spider-Man movie ever, and it comes through in this one boldly and repeatedly. And the line is just this: woohoo! Because when Spider-Man discovers who he has become, what his powers are, and he swings over the metropolis and goes to help others, he finds within himself not only the power to help, but the joy of doing it. And in this film, so smart, so brilliantly done, he doesn't only do it alone, but he does it with others from multiple worlds, multiple universes, a multiverse of parallel worlds, worlds just like our own and slightly different, from which heroes converge in order to address the deepest ills of our time. The film is intersectional, about gender and class and race and national origin and all of those things that define us. And it is multi-ethnic, many different kinds of people coming from all of their different backgrounds to work together for good. And it is literally multidimensional. It imagines a world where there are multiple worlds running parallel to each other and where all collide. It is a profound mirror, mirrors upon mirrors of our own world. It is a perfect movie for Father's Day, and I'll leave it to you to find out why. And it is a perfect movie for a time when we are questioning policing and honoring those police who are heroes and questioning those, challenging those, moving beyond those who use their power for ill. This is a movie about our power, that all of us have it, no matter who we are and where we come from, about moving beyond our fear and self-doubt in order to actualize that power for good, and about how that power multiplies across worlds when we work as a team, and how much we need each other, about how even our weaknesses become our powers. It is a movie that is serious. It is serious visual literature. It fuses multiple genres, cartoon genres and literary genres, in subtle and profound ways to push us into deep imagination, the work of imagination, so that we move from our imagination into the reality of our lives. It is about the use and misuse of power and the choices that we all face to make this world a better place. And through it all, it is fun, sheer joy, the story of a teenage boy waking up to who he really is and bursting out of his limitations into the fullness of himself. And when he does that, an overweight, middle-aged white guy who wears sweatpants, even though he's also Spider-Man, breaks out of his midlife crisis and depression into the fullness of who he is. And a badass, late teenage girl breaks into the fullness of who she is and leads the whole crew. And on and on and on, black, white, male, female, multigender, transgender, everyone breaks into their power when they work together. And it is profound. It mirrors our world. It is the best example of teamwork. And it is fun. So let me ask you again. Reflected in the mirror of this amazing movie about worlds upon worlds mirroring each other until we pass through the boundaries of those worlds and connect to serve together, to make this world a better place. Let me ask you again, in this strange time of separation and connection, through the virtual lens, from my reality to yours, how did you get here? How did you get here? How did you get connected to the work of this place? I remember clearly how it happened for me. 3 years ago, this month, I was sitting in my own world, alone in my empty house that I had up for sale, at the end of work that was running dry, sitting, meditating in silence with a spouse and 2 very young children, asking into the universe, asking into myself, what am I supposed to do? I tried so hard to do the right things, to use my power for good, and I had done a lot of good, but resources and energy and time were running out, and I had great responsibility for my children and for my partner, for myself and for the world. What am I supposed to do? How did I get here? And what is the next step? And there, alone, in a house that I didn't know if we would be able to keep, into that silence, into the universe, into the multiverse, from my small reality, my small world, into the great unknown, I asked, what am I supposed to do? And I would not tell you this if it was not true. The phone rang. And on the other end, across that virtual distance, a voice from this congregation said, this is the UU. We'd like to talk with you. From one world to another, across worlds, across space, in our separate realities, across distance, we connected. From my world into yours. And so for all of us, from each of our worlds into this world that we share, whether born into this or come into it, whether it found us or we found it, or something chose us beyond our understanding, however it is that we came through the doors or turned on the computer or shook a hand or sent an email or got a call, whatever the connection, however we got here. How did you get here? However you got here. Here we are together. And look at what we have created. A sense of our own power, each of us full of power, no exceptions, every one of us, and even our weaknesses, a witness to our power. That's why I keep foisting the Enneagram on you. That's why I've included a link in today's order of service again. Because these personality inventories are not only about finding what our predilections and our preferences are, but helping us see our blind spots, helping us see what we haven't developed yet, helping us see where our gifts end. And in that insight, in the realization of where we are weak and where we may have failed, we find even greater power there. All of us with power. And the experience of building team, of working together so that our power connects and expands, the multiplication of gifts, the ways in which our resources are never scarce when we share them, but always amplifying and expanding, even in times of difficulty, how we create resources simply by the work of connecting with each other and working together. The seriousness of this, the seriousness with which we take it, and the seriousness of this moment. Listen to these words from every Spider-Man story ever told. Words always spoken to the young hero, as he, and now as we can say she, and as we would say they, as they awaken to their power. With great power comes great responsibility. And have we ever seen a time in our own lives when the question of great power and its use and its misuse were more serious? If there was ever a question for our moment, it is how will we all use our power? We see its gross misuse. We see the violence done to other people. We see the very celebration of liberation on Juneteenth turned into craven celebrations of arrogant and narcissistic power for personal gain through our political process, through those who pose as leaders and do anything but lead us. We all have power, but how will we use it? This is the seriousness of our time. And we in this congregation are serious about our work. You know, one of the most revealing things that I glean from photos of our current president is what a miserable and unhappy person he clearly is. Those who use their power for selfishness and greed are never satisfied. They are utterly miserable. They may be addicted to that pursuit. They may see nothing else, but there is certainly no joy there. But for those who choose to use power for good, those who march together, who chant together, who paint murals together, who serve together, who sew masks together, who make a world together, who give together and strive together and meet for hour after hour after hour to strategize and re-strategize and examine themselves and to find new ways and to challenge each other in order to build team. For those who are willing to pour out their power for the benefit of others, it seems abundantly clear to me, written on every face, they know joy. And this, as hard as it is and dangerous, is fun. It is fun. Look at what we have created. Last week, this congregation voted in our social justice discernment process to center the work of consciousness, and to form 4 teams, each focused on immigration, voting justice, ecological action, and just being a neighbor in this neighborhood, a church that serves in its most immediate community. There is no harder work we could have chosen. We chose the most difficult path, one that will require us to speak truth to each other and to challenge each other and to call each other out on our biases and blind spots. We have chosen to be vulnerable to each other, to be humble with each other, to be most difficult with each other. This is going to be hard. Nothing about this is going to be easy. And when we voted, and when the vote was announced, and in the week since, there have been cheers and laughter and tears of joy and exuberance, an immediate move to organize, and an invitation to every single person who wants to serve on a team to join in the social justice effort, to join in the work, total openness in the process. What is going on? This is impossible, and it is full of joy. It is so serious. The stuff we're working on is so serious. And it is fun. When I took a step back and looked at what we have committed to do now as a congregation, what we have voted as a congregation to do, I felt like a kid standing on the edge of a skyscraper, ready to test his powers, knowing that the only thing to do is to jump into the abyss and just try. The leap of faith to just try the powers out and to see if you can make it. And I thought, oh my God. And we jumped. And what I have felt inside of myself and seen in all of you, heard in your emails and texts and calls and in our conversations, is one clear, resonant cry, across our multiple universes colliding into one. From every Spider-Man story ever told, from every superhero story ever told, from every one of our stories ever told, when we choose the hardest work to use our power in service to others, when we choose to use our power for good, the cry goes out as we swing over the metropolis to serve. Woohoo! Ridiculous. And so much fun. We've been thinking about superheroes all month. And you knew from the beginning, all along, where we would end up. We can all be superheroes. But how do we get there? How do we get there? And the answer is from everywhere. We get there from wherever we are, from our strengths and our weaknesses, from our power and our sense of lack of power, from our victories and our failures, from our isolation and our virtual worlds into our colliding worlds, from everywhere, if we leap together to serve. That's how we get there. When we jump together into the abyss of our time, in service to each other in this world, we come into our full powers. Miles Morales, at the end of his own saga, speaks into every form of oppression in his world and in ours, a perfect mirror for exclusion and isolation, segregation and discrimination, white supremacy and patriarchy, heteronormativity and heterosexism, classism, power plays, political injustice, narcissism. He speaks into all of it when he says, as a young black man, to all of us, everyone can wear the mask. Every one of us can wear the mask. The mask of the superhero, the mask of power. And his words could not be more true. This is how powerful his words are. From his world colliding across multiverses into our world today. Everyone can wear the mask. And it's the superheroes who do. Even just putting the mask on is a heroic act as our worlds collide today. However you got here, from whatever multiverse, from your world through virtual time and space into this one, however you got here, every way important, all equal and all crucial, however you got here, I am glad. This is serious, serious fun. Here we go.
I want to So we made up a Superman, but he is just imaginary. And here we stand without a plan, with new ideas and innovation. Man still cannot tame creation. Though I'm told I'll never fly, that doesn't mean that I won't try. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. With fearless thoughts, emotions swirl. I wanna be the one who saves the world.
Ben Parker speaking to nephew Peter Parker in every Spider-Man story ever told, and penned by Marvel Comics creator Stan Lee. With great power comes great responsibility. Peter Parker, when he discovers his powers swinging above the New York City skyline in every Spider-Man story ever told by Stan Lee. Wait for it.
Everyone can wear the mask, and it's the heroes that do. Put yours on and let's go. Woohoo!
We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to